Hey guys, it's Christian, and today I'd like to talk with you about agentic AI coding, which I think is an absolutely fascinating topic that I just want to talk more about on this channel here, even though I know it is kind of a controversial one these days. It seems like people are either in the AI fanboy camp, where creators and communities are talking every single day about this new LLM introduced by a big brand company, or you're in the AI hater camp, where you just don't want to have to do anything with this crap and you just dislike every single AI video on YouTube. So yeah, it's kind of a hit or miss with this one, I know this. But I just believe that no matter which side you're on, AI is becoming a super important technology in IT that we just cannot ignore. And I know that many people are currently concerned about AI because they are afraid of getting replaced by it. So I thought I'm just gonna share my honest and humble opinion on this, because I think no, you should not be worried about getting replaced by AI. And let me explain and show you why at the same time this is absolutely mind-blowing and impressive, but also has a lot of issues and even introduces new problems that we weren't facing before in IT. Okay guys, so first of all, I want to set the scene here and get everybody on the same page, because honestly, AI wasn't a major topic on this channel before. I only did 3 different videos about AI. Still, I think that everybody should learn about agentic AI, because this is not just a buzzword, it's technically very different from the simple chat integrations where you just send a prompt and the AI directly responds to your inputs based on the data that it was trained on. AI agents can run tasks autonomously, so that means they can even react to outputs and inputs by using external APIs or tools that allow the LLM to do things like running commands or changing files. It can even do other complex things and file operations across your device or repositories, which at the end of the day just makes the AI agent more behave like a real human or real engineer, because it has access to additional context or external tools to be much more powerful than just providing simple text outputs. And I thought I'm just going to work with you on a simple example project. So here I've prepared a prompt where the objective is to create a modern and user-friendly web application focused on IT learning. So an IT course website, something that I could potentially use for my YouTube channel as well. This site should cater a wide audience, including beginners and advanced users, offering resources like tutorials, articles, courses, and interactive content. The key features should be that it's responsive, so it natively works great on mobile devices as well as desktop devices. It should have a user authentication, it should have process tracking, and the technology stack I haven't really specified further. You could also add some specific web frameworks like React or Node.js or things like that. But I think let the AI figure it out on its own how to write this application. I just want to make sure that it uses an SQLite database for the storage backend. So I just want to keep it super simple. By the way, of course, you can also explain AI to use a different database like MongoDB or Postgres, or you can even use agentic AI coding to change that afterwards. But with a simple prompt like this, we can just execute it. By the way, I'm using the Claude 4 Sonnet model. We could also try it out by using GPT-5. That would give me some slightly different result, of course, because every LLM has its own very specific techniques or can behave a bit different in other scenarios. But I think for most of the cases, I just found out that Claude 4 Sonnet, also Gemini 2.5 Pro, or GPT-5 with medium, high, or low reasoning, these models are really capable of writing these type of applications completely on their own. So let's just hit enter and see what's happening. And now, instead of a simple chat prompt here, because Warp is a true agentic AI coding tool, it will start making a plan. So first of all, it will create a task list with all the important things that it needs to do. So initialize a project structure, create a package.json, so that's probably important for the Node.js configuration, stuff like that. It even creates a new directory here and then wants to do all these things here. So I could just go on and just run each of these steps here individually so I confirm it. Or what I personally like to do more often, I click on run and then I activate the auto approvement. here. So that means that all the other tasks, the AI agent will autonomously just execute without any confirmation from my side. So here you can see it creates this package.json. Honestly, I'm not a JavaScript expert, so I know a few things. But honestly, I couldn't write any application or any code of this quality myself without, I don't know, tinkering weeks and months of doing this, yeah. So Python might be a different game, so there I'm a little more knowledgeable. But anyways, JavaScript is not really my profession, so that's why it's probably better to use these type of tools. All right, so here we can also see the README file for the backend. The AI agent will use Node.js, the SQLite database, as I have described it in the prompt. For the front end, it will use React, the Tailwind CSS. This is, by the way, a nice framework. I think that's pretty good. The React router. Axios for AI communication. I have no idea what that is, but hey, let's see what it comes up with. So here is the structure of the directories with the backend server, the controller, the middleware models, routers, database, the client application, API endpoints that it needs. Yeah, based on my prompt, I wanted to have a user authentication, so it creates a route for auth register to register a new user, log in, log out, get profile information. And then, like I described, I want some IT courses learning platform. It created some endpoints for getting all the courses, getting specific courses. So everything that I have described. So let's just scroll up because it's already starting to do something. So it created an SQLite database initialization script that will initialize the database structure with all the fields, everything that it needs to make this application functional. Some error handling, which might also be useful in some cases. So you can just wait until this is done. Probably it takes a few minutes until it's finished. So I'm really excited to see what it comes up with. By the way, while it's doing this thing here, I can just open a new tab here and open it in VS Code. So then we can, in parallel, look at the files a bit better. And we can also use the GitHub Copilot to continue working on this. Of course, you can use both tools in parallel. For some tasks, I found out that the GitHub Copilot or VS Code is sometimes a bit better. You can much better read and search the files for anything. You can specifically select some sections and add this as context to the GitHub Copilot. So for example, if you just want to change this part of the file, you can just use the hashtag symbol to say selection. That is sometimes a bit simpler and more straightforward when you're working on larger projects and larger files than doing everything in Warp. However, I think Warp is much better for running through tasks autonomously, and it's also much, much better for anything that needs to be executed in your terminal. So for troubleshooting issues with your application, if you're running into some error logs, it is much easier to execute these type of tasks in Warp, add the log output as context for your next prompt, and just tell the AI model to fix these issues. Warp is much more capable of doing these things than GitHub Copilot, at least in my opinion. So these are two really great tools. But again, as it is with all things in IT, there is always the best tool for a specific job. So that's at least my experience. All right, so it seems that it's almost complete. Now comes the interesting part here, where it starts testing the application. So it runs the development server and the development client application. And as you can see here, there is some internal errors. So here you can see this issue. This is kind of something that went wrong during the processing. But no, after some trial and error, it finally works. So this is the web application that Warp has completely created for us. And I think that just took like 10 or maybe 12 minutes to run through this and troubleshoot some of the initial errors. So one big problem was that it previously tried to use Tailwind CSS 4.x. That had a few problems, so it automatically downgraded it to Tailwind CSS 3.x. That seems to be much more stable and has better compatibility. So whatever. We just trust AI, so that's the best decision. And now it finally works. We got our application. So let's first of all test this. This is the very first time I open this. So let's just click on start learning. So we need to register. Registration form coming soon. So it seems like we don't have a registration form. That's the first problem we need to fix. And also when we click on browse courses, there's nothing in here, so we don't have any courses. But I think at least the foundation for this application is working with a responsive design. Does that work? Oh, yeah. So responsive design is definitely working great. And now we can continue working on this project. So we either could use Warp or we could use GitHub Copilot. Let's try GitHub Copilot and see how that's working. You can see I'm using the same Claude Sonnet model. I could also switch to something else, but let's just keep Claude Sonnet for now. And let's say, can you implement the registration page so I can register new users to my application? And let's hit enter. So just like Warp, this tool, again, it works a bit differently, but it usually does the same agentic AI coding logic. So it first of all tries to gather context from this project, because we didn't work with this chat here before. So this application is completely new to this chat window here. So it first of all needs to gather all the files so it understands how this application is working. Therefore, it is always good that you from time to time let the AI update the README file, especially when you made some changes. Sometimes it forgets to update the README file, and then another chat window doesn't really know what were the changes before. So always make sure that you document as much as you can so the AI model has enough context to provide accurate responses and makes the correct decisions when it's altering files or changing code logics and stuff like that. Here it says it at least has a good understanding of the structure, so that sounds promising. Let's see and let's hope for the best. So one thing where Warp is much better is to execute commands. So you can see that GitHub Copilot is also capable of executing commands to run the development server and stuff like that. But it doesn't have the same auto approval thing, and it doesn't troubleshoot issues on the terminal so well. So it's more for working with an IDE. All right, so here's our registration form. Let me just fill in something. I don't really know if there are any other required fields, so we can add our programming skill level. So I might want to change this because this IT course website is not solely about programming, so maybe we don't need this and we could remove it. But you can see anything else looks pretty sophisticated, and so as you would expect it from a professional application. So let's try. Okay, so dashboard is coming soon. So that's the next thing we need to implement here, obviously. So yeah, let's give it a go and say implement dashboard as well. And while this is working, by the way, you can start more AI agents if you want. So in case of Warp, for example, let's just open a new tab and let's implement something else. Because as you can see, there is no dark mode switcher. And of course, we need dark mode. So Warp AI work on something else while the GitHub Copilot is still working on the dashboard. So add a dark mode switcher to this application. All right, and let's also set it to auto approve so it can run in the background and it can start working on this task while we are checking something else. So here you can see there's our dashboard. By the way, when you're working with multiple AI agents on the same project in Warp, you can see all the tasks from these agents here. So here, for example, while this is still working on the dark mode switcher, I created a new AI agent that will start implementing the course and the lessons page so that we get up to speed a little, because this is taking too long for me. Alright guys, so now everything is completed, everything works, I fixed all the issues and implemented everything. Let's take a look at the web application. So first of all, before my eyes are getting damaged, let's enable the new dark mode switcher. So that's much better now. As you can see, I completely implemented a profile section, the dashboard, and we can now browse the courses. As you can see here, I've also added some example courses. Yeah, also the sorting functionality works. That is really amazing. For example, let's take a look at one of the courses here, Docker for Beginners. That actually could be a great course on YouTube as well, maybe. So let's enroll. It's free, okay, and yeah, so let's start learning. It already provisioned the demo courses with actually some useful content in here. So your first Docker command. So that's great, Mark, as complete. And now I could add more pages to this. Of course, this I haven't implemented yet, but I could if I technically wanted to do this. And it took me about 50 minutes to roughly an hour to get through all of this, because I needed to fix a bunch of issues and go through many different iterations to get everything working. However, I've done all of this entirely with AI, without actually writing just a single line of code by myself. And this is really impressive, and I can definitely see why some people are worried about getting replaced by AI. However, if we just take a look behind the curtain, we can still see so many different issues created by this. By the way, this, what we've just done together, has a specific term. This is called vibe coding, and this is a method of coding primarily driven through AI tools, where developers, often like non-technical people like me, if I don't know this programming language, can create applications with even limited understanding of the underlying code or the structure. So yeah, with vibe coding, many people can create applications, fully functional applications, really, without actually understanding what they are doing. At the one side, this is really great because I think it enables a wider audience of non-technical people to bring their ideas to life, even without understanding programming and using AI tools. However, it also should hopefully raise many alarm bells. This is like programming or working with a black box. This obviously has many challenges when it comes to code quality and robustness, security risks. Yeah, we probably even don't know if there are any security risks within our application because we're not familiar with all the packages and dependencies. Are there any security vulnerabilities in these versions? Where did these version numbers come from? Maybe AI just came up with these versions because it was used in some of their old legacy training data. We actually don't know. And this is becoming a huge problem, not just for this application that's running right now, but because AI-assisted tools will create and produce much more source code without actually someone experienced taking a look at this code and preventing any bad things from happening. But it's also introducing many challenges to people or even organizations that implement these vibe coding techniques to their day-to-day work, because they become a lot more dependent on these AI tools. And when something does not work somewhere inside, who actually knows where to look for and what to look for? So you solely are dependent on these tools, and that of course is introducing many problems with limited customizations, also ethical and legal concerns, because you don't really know where this code is coming from, and if you have the rights, if it was copied from some training data from a closed source repository, or if it came from an open source repository, you can never really be sure. So again, while I'm still a big fan of vibe coding, honestly, I use this technique a lot to create some scripts and tools. I really love this. I'm not fully against it, but I'm definitely aware of the big challenges and the big problems coming with it. So I think we can learn a lot or predict a few things based on these observations here that we just did. And my assumption is that, of course, these techniques are gonna be used in the industry, and AI-assisted tools, even vibe coding, is becoming more and more popular. And people are just gonna build applications with it, if you like it or not. Yeah, things are gonna happen. And of course, that might have some implications on people's jobs and beginner jobs that we probably will see reduce in numbers, yeah? Because why would you hire a junior developer that creates a simple application when you can use AI to do that in a few minutes? But at the end of the day, you cannot solely delegate every task to an AI model. As you can see here, we did a lot of manual fixing, a lot of bugs that we needed to troubleshoot. And of course, we needed to somehow tell the AI model what it actually should build. And AI cannot think creatively and just come up with how to create such a learning platform. You need to somehow control and define what type of features and capabilities you want to have in this application. You probably also need someone more experienced to tell what is the right technology stack to build an application on. Of course, you can just let the AI do this for you, but then it's becoming more a gamble than a sophisticated decision. So the AI revolution is coming, if you want it or not. Yeah, companies will adapt to this, yeah. But I think they can't do everything through these automated tools. They still need some human engineers working on these things, coordinating stuff, getting the chaos under control, troubleshooting issues. It still requires manual planning and some auditing and review of this code. It probably even becomes more challenging because there's a lot more code that is currently produced by AI tools So you need more people to review more code, actually. By the way, there's even a new job raising these days that's called the vibe coding cleanup specialist. So companies and freelancers are already making a business of reviewing and auditing this shitty code and getting this to a more stable and solid product. So you can see, even if there are a few jobs going away or replaced by AI, there are new challenges and new jobs are gonna be created. So what I want to say with this, even if agentic AI coding becomes kind of the standard how we develop software in IT, I would not say that you should be afraid of losing your job. I will just say this, yeah? Don't try to argue against AI. Don't try to argue against this technology and this evolution. It's gonna happen. It's gonna take things over. People are gonna do vibe coding if you like it or not. So you should not ignore this. You should start learning this. You should start familiarize yourself with these technologies, learn how to work with these tools, maybe build some example projects yourself. I think now is the best time to play around with this. And I think that's ultimately the best strategy to stay in the game. But just like I said in the beginning, it's really just my humble and honest opinion. Yeah, maybe you have a completely different view on this. So I would like to open the discussion, and please let me know in the comments, what do you think about agentic AI coding? What do you think about all these technologies, and what's your opinion on this? But I hope I inspired you to try out a few things and experiment with it, so I'll let you go. And of course, I'm gonna catch you in the next video, so stay tuned for more tutorials. And a big thanks goes out to all my supporters and members. You guys are really amazing. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.